Live with CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody, or should I say good evening. Welcome to Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. You can check out their new selection and used selection of GM vehicles at barrycullen.com or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Again, Live with CDP Sports Talk is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road in the Guelph Auto Mall, and check them out again at barrycullen.com. Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming on Season 4, Episode 39 of Live with CDP Sports Talk. And I'm just waiting for my guests to come on and talk some Hamilton Bulldogs with me. And his name is Colin Ward. He's the host of the Hammertown podcast, and he's also a contributor with the Hamilton Bulldogs of the Ontario Hockey League's Audio Network, and he's also a color analyst for the Intercounty Baseball League's Brantford Red Sox alongside Reese Domeni, who I've had on here as well. So bear with me, guys. Hopefully Colin will be on here in a minute or two, and we're going to talk about last year's OHL Championship Hamilton Bulldogs team and this year's team, and there was some OHL news out of Hamilton today as well. So I'm going to wait for Colin to pop on, and we'll talk about the latest news out of the Steel City today with the Hamilton Bulldogs. And also we'll talk about his new podcast that he's a co-host of as well, the Hammertown podcast. And we'll talk about the Brantford Red Sox. They had a very disappointing season this year, and hopefully the Brantford Red Sox will be back in the IBL next year and be a little bit more competitive. They really struggled this year, and they're one of the oldest franchises in the IBL, and unfortunately this wasn't one of their best years as well. But guys, just bear with me. I'm hoping Colin will be on very soon. Just technical difficulties getting on my podcast show. So that sometimes happens in radio, and it happens in television as well. As I'm talking right now, we have Thursday night football on tonight, and I believe it's the Denver Broncos taking on the Indianapolis Colts from, I believe it's in Denver. I still call it Mile High Stadium, but I think I don't know. Broncos, Colts. I don't know. What do you guys think? Broncos or Colts? I'm going to go with if the game's in Denver, I'm going to go with the Broncos. I know Russell Wilson has not got off to a great start in Denver, but I think Denver's defense at home should be able to shut down Matt Ryan in the Indianapolis Colts as well. And speaking of the Hamilton Bulldogs, they have their home opener this Saturday, October 8th at 7 p.m. Face-off at the First Ontario Centre in Hamilton. I still call it the Cops Coliseum. They're taking on the Oshawa Generals, and the first 5,000 fans at the First Ontario Centre get OHL replica championship ring from the Bulldogs season last year as well. And Hamilton got off to a good start last Friday at the Sleeman Center in Guelph, winning the game 5-4 in overtime on a winning snapshot, awesome goal by Logan Morrison with 3.6 seconds left in overtime. And then the Bulldogs had a 5-3 loss in Peterborough on Saturday. Guys, just bear with me. Colin Ward, I think, is on, and I'm going to see if I can bring him on here, guys. But thank you for your patience. Sometimes things happen with podcasts and TV and radio. So we're just going to see if we can bring Colin on here. Colin, it says device is not connected. Can you try maybe using your phone, Colin? I don't know. Sometimes StreamYard's funny and stuff like that, but they say you should use Google Chrome with StreamYard for the podcast. But Colin, if you want to just try popping off again and maybe even trying your phone and see if that works as well. But I apologize. Like I said, sometimes things do happen in podcast, TV, and radio. So hopefully Colin Ward will be back on shortly, and I'm looking forward to speaking to him. And I also spoke with Reese Dumani, who's involved with the Bulldogs as well. There he is. Okay, I think we're in luck now. So, guys, thank you for letting me ramble on for 5 minutes, and thank you for the two people that have come on to watch this. Thank you for your patience, and I'm going to bring on Colin Ward in just a sec. Good afternoon, Colin. How you doing?
Hey, how are you, Chris? Thanks for having me on.
Good, no problem. And I was just like I said, I've learned how to ad-lib on the air now.
Yeah, that's good.
So
there's always a time and place when that's going to come in handy, Chris. So.
Definitely. I've learned that in doing podcasts. I've learned that doing with Rogers TV, and it happens in radios too. And the show has to go on as well.
Yeah, for sure. You got to adapt on the fly.
Absolutely. So I was going to say, can we start off with the news of the day? It seems like Tuesday when I had Jim Van Horn on from the London Knights, news came out of Guelph. Well, now today I have you on the show and news comes out of Hamilton. If you want to just tell my audience what the latest news is with the Hamilton Bulldogs.
Yeah, so Steve Staios, now former GM of the Hamilton Bulldogs, is joining the Edmonton Oilers as an advisor, as was announced today at noon hour. And we have a new general manager, intern general manager. It'll be Matt Turek in Hamilton. So Matt Turek comes along. He's a really big developer. I know he's ran some 4-on-4 around the Hamilton area. He's big around the Hamilton area. He's a Hamilton native. Big ad for the Bulldogs. He's been big in their drafting, so that's been massive as well. So it's big to get that guy and get Turek in a bigger role because he's proven himself throughout his time with the Bulldogs since 2015-16. So it's well earned, that's for sure.
I was going to say, and didn't he start out as a scout with the team in 15-16 in their first year?
Yes, exactly. He started out as a scout, and now he's a GM.
I was going to say, so your feelings is he eventually will get that job full time then?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, right? Because I feel like with the general manager, you have to give him a draft. So we'll see how that goes, but I feel like he has to get a draft first, and we'll see what happens. But I'm sure there's a good chance that the interim tag gets removed throughout the year.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on Steve Staios? And he was the general manager of the year last year in the Ontario Hockey League, and he's been with the franchise since they came over from Belleville 7 years ago, and 2 OHL championships in 2018 and 2022.
Yeah, Steve's done a great job with the Hamilton Bulldogs organization. He's really developed well, and he's, along with the ownership, they've really established a culture here. With Jay McKee coming over from Kitchener, they've really established this culture in Hamilton, and it's just really, it's really changed, and they have a good identity there, a good team bonding, and yeah, it's a really good room and a good franchise all the way around, really good business operations as well. Last year, they had a lot of success, and yeah, it was just a great year last season all the way around, not just on the ice.
I was going to say the Bulldogs have been pretty successful in their time in Hamilton. Now, I wanted to ask you this, Colin. Do you think this latest championship will cement the OHL in Hamilton long term now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this franchise isn't going anywhere. It's one of the cornerstones now in the Ontario Hockey League. I mean, you have 2 championships in such a quick time. That's pretty massive, Chris, and I don't think this place is going anywhere. It's just getting bigger. I mean, Game 7 last year in Hamilton, there was 12,000 people in that arena, and it was just packed. I remember pulling up to the arena, and there's already cars in the parking garage. It's already packed. You can get the vibe was great, and it's just getting up from there. I mean, there's nowhere but up to go for this team, and it's just getting better and better.
How many fans are they kind of expecting Saturday night for the home opener against the Oshawa Generals at 7:00? And I need to get one of those replica rings of the Bulldogs too. That's pretty cool what they're doing for the fans.
Yeah, those rings look really nice. And, on social media, you can see them. They've been around. Bulldogs Logan Morris and the captain was on the morning show in Hamilton recently, and they showed off those rings, and those things are nice. I mean, the first 5,000 fans. So I'd expect hopefully 5,000 in attendance there. That'd be a nice opening night crowd for the Bulldogs.
Because I was going to say that arena is much better when there's fans in there, and it just makes the environment better.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I was going to say, you're going to be at the game Saturday night. What time do you
Yep.
guys have to be there before face-off to set up and stuff like that?
Well, Reese Dumady and myself, we'll just be there like 5:30. We're okay. Like, we're not going to be on air. We do our podcast every Thursday night, so it'll be released here soon. But yeah, every Wednesday night we record and we release on Thursday.
Okay. So Reed's back doing the games. Does he have a color analyst with him this year?
Yes. So Troy Issachar usually does it with him. Norm Miller. They rotate every game. There could be someone different. But in the last year in the playoffs, Troy Issachar was on there.
Okay. Now, when I go down to First Ontario Center, who's the PA announcer? I just can't remember his name.
Ooh, Aaron Walsh.
Okay, because he's been there so long.
Yeah, he does a good job too. He really holds the Hamilton on the intro. It's a really good intro at First Ontario Center.
Yes, definitely. And I was going to say the public address announcers, like you said, they don't get enough credit for what they do, because I've had a lot of NHL ones on, and it's like, hey, when you go to an arena, you don't hear the TV and radio guys. You hear the in-game arena voice. And when I go in there, I think, oh, there I am in Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton's a really good spot to go to a game as well in general. And public address announcing, PA announcing is very tough. I know Reese Dumany and myself, he's not going to like this if he's listening, but we did it the one time in Brantford for the Red Sox. I mean, the PA guy never showed up for some reason. Reese and I got thrown into the fire. It was tough. It was a tough atmosphere. And last season, we strictly set ourselves on, we're just a broadcast crew. No more PA. So, yeah, we're out of that now. It's a tough job.
Yes, I had a little bit of a taste of it here a few weeks ago. My buddy who's with Gulf Minor Football League needed a PA announcer, and I never done it before in my life. And the first time I did it, I heard someone in the crowd yell, "This guy sounds like he's dead!" And I'm like, "Oh God, this isn't a good start." So, but when the game, it's tough doing football because I didn't have binoculars, and I was far enough away where it was hard to see the numbers. But it takes a while. And to get into the game and stuff, and everybody has a style. Everybody has a style.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's tough. And when the mic's turned on and everything goes quiet to listen to you, it's a tough atmosphere for sure.
Definitely. First question I wanted to ask you, Colin, I wanted to ask you this one. Can you just tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm from Delhi, Ontario. Maybe that's why the connection was so spotty joining, because it's a country town, about 5,000 people, and 3 OHLers, 3 guys in the OHL from Delhi. So that's pretty cool. Braden McCallum on the Peterborough Petes, Landon McCallum, his older brother, plays for the Sudbury Wolves. And then Merrick Van Acker, recently the first round pick of the Hamilton Bulldogs. So that's pretty cool. 2 Delhi connections now with Hamilton. So
cool. Delhi. And yeah, I've been to Delhi as well. So, I think I just lost him. Okay, guys, just bear with me. I think we just lost Colin. Just a second. Hopefully his Wi-Fi connection will come back. Oh, there he is. Colin Ward's back. So just bear with me. Yeah, we got you back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Wi-Fi is funny. I have a strong Wi-Fi signal, and I have the Wi-Fi pods for Bell 5, and sometimes it happens with me. So there's never a foolproof system with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, my data's on now. My cellular data's on now, so it should be good. I usually have pretty good data, so
okay.
It's on now. We should be good.
And one of the guys watching tonight is Ryan Humphrey. He's checking us out tonight. So I want to say thank you to Ryan for listening or watching on YouTube and that. And he's from Northville, Michigan, which isn't far from where my cousins are. And I think he's going to be a really key player. Yes, and I'm a huge Red Wings fan too. And Ryan came on my podcast, really good guy. And I think he's even going to I think he's going to be a really key player for this team this year.
Yeah, Ryan Humphrey's a really good hockey player. Last year he played a really good job in the playoffs. He gets under the guy's skins on the opponent, so that's a very important role for the Bulldogs, and that's something that in the culture and the way they play, and you can see it firsthand when you watch them play. They play hard, and he's one of the leaders of that team, and you expect him to play a big role. And he's a heck of a hockey player.
Yeah. So Colin, when did you decide you wanted to pursue a career in broadcasting?
So I went to school at Mohawk College for radio, and then I was lucky enough to get an internship with TSN 1150, and that's how Reese Dumany and myself met each other. And it was funny because Reese actually took me on a tour of Niagara College, and I know I'm going to get a text message right now at the moment as I say this if he's listening, because I went to Niagara College for a tour, and when I went to the tour, he was the one that gave the tour for me. So, and I ended up choosing Mohawk over Niagara. So he's been all over me ever since that. But it's kind of like the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. He's a Michigan fan. I'm an Ohio State fan. So it's kind of like that. So.
And I'm a Michigan fan. I'm a Michigan fan. So, but I won't hold it against you. And to me, for Michigan and even for Ohio State, the rivalry is huge, and it's good for the sport as well.
Sure.
And I'm looking forward to meeting up with the Buckeyes again and see if Michigan can win a back-to-back Big Ten championship this year.
Yeah, hopefully not, but it should be a good game. And Reese Dumaney just sent me a text, Chris. Picked the wrong school.
So, Niagara, you know what?
It is a good school.
I was gonna say I was looking at broadcasting back in the 90s, and two of the schools I was looking at was Conestoga and Mohawk. I ended up going to Mohawk College, but I took law and security. I just wish they had this technology back in the 90s because I think it would have made my decision a lot easier. But I'll tell you this, I've heard nothing but good things about Niagara College, and Rick Jenneret's son, I believe, is a professor at that college in Niagara, and Mohawk College, obviously being an alumni, it's a good school as well.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. So I got the internship at 1150. That's how Reese Dumaney and myself started the OHL in 60. So, and we're still going with that. We're still going to go with that, even with the Hammertown pod. We're still going with that strong. I mean, we love the OHL, so we still got to keep covering it, and we have fun doing it. So we're still going to do that. And we're going to just do both. So it's been fun. And I was lucky enough because Jim Taddy was actually one of the professors at Mohawk College. So that was cool. At the fourth semester, so second year, last semester, Jim Taddy has a sports class, and learn a lot in that class. You learn how to do sport profiles and go really in depth in the world of media and sports media in general. So it was a really good class, and that taught me a lot too.
You know what's great about this whole thing is I'm trying to switch careers into radio at 50, and I'm doing it the unconventional way. But everybody has been great with me. Guys your age, guys that are my age or in between my age, everybody's been really great, and nobody's been like, nope, you don't have the schooling, you're wasting your time. Everybody's been very supportive, and the Ontario Hockey League and Josh Wheatland and yourself and
Josh is good.
Jim Van Horn, who I had on from the Knights, he's a professor at Fanshawe College as well. Everybody's been really great about what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, it's a small world, right? Radio's a small world, and the sports industry is even smaller. So everyone knows everybody, and when anyone can help anyone, hey, I appreciate it. When we go on game, like Mike Stubbs, for instance, I remember when we first started the OHL in 60, and talked to Mike Stubbs and Sarnia post game about podcasts, and then later on that summer when COVID wiped everything out, Reese Dumaney and myself ended up having Mike on our show, and that was a big deal having Mike on. And we got to talk about the radio. We got to talk about some really cool stories about the Memorial Cup and all the games he's called. And it really rubs off, right? When you're able to get stuff from other people that is well informative for yourself, and you really learn off that, and you kind of take a mental note of everything everyone tells you, and you build up the positives, because that's how you're going to get better. And the more reps, the better you are.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I've had Mike on twice, and I know everybody calls the London Knights the villains of the Ontario Hockey League, but they've been a tremendous franchise for the last 20 years. And getting to know Mike and Jim Van Horn and even Greg Sloan, who's their TV guy for Rogers TV, really good guys. And that's the one thing about the Ontario Hockey League. Everybody seems to support each other, and
it's a small world.
Stuff absolutely. That's the key word right there as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a small world. It's a real positive environment. Everyone knows everybody around the OHL. I mean, Reese and I, this is like year 2 for us in our first really full season with the out-of-conference play. And whenever we go to some place so far, you always see somebody that you know. And it's a small world.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, this is my 204th episode since I started my podcast show, March 2020, when the pandemic struck. This is basically what got me through the pandemic.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, Reese and I just kept going with the OHL and 60. We just went every other week. We had some fun with it. There were definitely some shows that we had that were not ideal that you would want to be having, but you have to try your best, right? And due to circumstances, we had to adapt. I mean, we started following the USHL a lot. We started really doing the Muskegon Lumberjacks, covering the Muskegon Lumberjacks because they followed us on Twitter. So we made a big thing about that one. So we were big Muskegon Lumberjack fans during the closure of the OHL season in 2020.
And I was going to say, I don't know what your perception is, but when somebody says you do a podcast, you're like, oh, this is easy. You get to do it at home and stuff like that. but people don't realize how much work there is in a podcast show, especially even with a co-host. In my case, I do it solo. Just producing the shows, guest booking itself is a full-time job. So what's your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I'm really lucky. Reese Dumaney does a really good job with the editing and the graphics. So I'm really lucky. Most of the time I just have to get guests. And yeah, I know you're paying. It's tough getting guests, especially when you have to go through a bunch of different people, right? To get somebody, that's always the worst. But I'm really lucky because Reese Dumaney does a really good job with the graphics for our show on the OHL in 60. If you ever see us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, OHL in 60 podcast, you know how good of a job he does, and it just speaks for itself.
Yeah, my graphics are done by StreamYard, and I think StreamYard's great for podcasting. And I even got a sponsor for my podcast too, the local GM dealership here, Barry Collins. So,
congrats!
Thank you. It took me a couple years to do it, but I'm hoping to get more sponsors in the future.
No, hey, you know what? Congratulations. That's something that's very tough to do, right? It's tough to pitch that, especially with what happened with COVID and everything, business trying to get their footing back out there. And it's tough to pitch businesses right now. And you know what? Congratulations. It's well-deserved. It's a grind. I mean, what'd you say? 206 episodes now?
204. You're number 204.
204, yeah. But we'll get to 206. But
definitely.
Yeah, you know what? Congratulations, because that's definitely a tough accomplishment to even get to 204. And to get a sponsorship, congratulations. It's well-deserved. And I know you put in a lot of effort and you put in a lot of travel. And no, definitely well deserved.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed doing this. And I told my guest Barry Davis last night. I said, "Hey, I'm just the host. It's the guests that people want to see. I'm just asking you questions, and you're sharing. The guests are sharing their stories. So I'm very fortunate. And like I said, I just want to keep on working hard, and hopefully this will lead into a career in radio at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure, and just keep working hard. That's all we can do."
Next question I wanted to ask you is, did you have any mentor or mentors and broadcasters you kind of followed through their careers?
Yeah, so being a Red Wing fan, I mean, I don't think it's kind of biased, but anyone that watches the Red Wings knows Ken Daniels, Mickey Redmond are the best duo in hockey and almost in sport. There's not a better color guy than Mickey Redmond. Not a better play-by-play guy than Ken Daniels, in my opinion. So growing up, being a Red Wing fan, watching those guys at their craft. I mean, I don't think, as a Wings fan, I think that's you're the luckiest out of any fan base. I mean, having those two call games, I mean, they really paint the picture, Ken Daniel. And yeah, those two would be my two that I always looked up to. And then as you get into college, obviously Jim Taddy was really cool to be able to talk to, pick his brain a little bit. And that was a really big one as well as the guy in Mohawk.
And I was going to say, I'm a huge Detroit Red Wings fan too. And I've been lucky enough to get Ken Daniels on. Ken Daniels came on a year ago, and Eric Friney, their public address announcer, I had to go through the Red Wings PR department to do it. He came on, and Darren McCarty and Joe Valino. So they're all on my YouTube channel. So if you get a chance to check out my YouTube channel, there's 330 videos. You'll see about 5 or 6 of them with Detroit Red Wings. But I'll tell you this, Ken Daniels is a generally good guy. He's like everybody says he is.
Yeah, really stand up, respectable guy, and really good at his job. That's for sure.
Definitely, we're gonna have to make a road trip to Little Caesars Arena because I'm a diehard Wings fan since 1979, and I like the radio guys too. I'm trying to one day hopefully get Ken Kell on because I think he's done a great job along with Paul Woods for the last 25 years.
Yeah, Paul Woods, former player as well, so that's cool.
Yeah,
it's nice to have. Have you had Mickey Redmond on?
No, but that's somebody I would like to have on because he'd be
unreal.
He also played his OHL hockey with the Peterborough Petes, and and he was named one of the old-time Peterborough Pete's great players. And
Yeah.
I clipped out an article of it. I sent it to him in the snail mail a few years ago, and he actually wrote me back and thanked me for letting him know that. He didn't know that. And I think he's another guy I'd like to talk to. What's his catchphrase? Bingo bangle or something?
Yeah, he's got a bunch. Yeah, I like the one with Athanasiu later when Andreas Athanasiu scored the one goal shorthanded there and
Yeah.
on the breakaway, just blew through two guys and Mickey Redmond couldn't say his name. It was his rookie season, and Mickey Redmond just like Athanasiu later. That was unreal.
Yeah, so I've been very lucky, man. A long life Red Wing fan, and having some of these guys that I've watched and listened to or watched play. Like Darren McCarty's another good guy. If you guys can get him on your podcast, you just got to contact his. Yeah, you got to contact his agent Nick. And Nick, I'll see if I can get you his email address. But Darren McCarty is a really good guy and has great stories to tell, and he loves going on podcasts.
Yeah. Former OHLer as well, so that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and also a 50-goal scorer with the Belleville Bulls.
Yeah, so that'd be right on. I know Reese and myself, both being Red Wing fans, we'd be all over that one. It'd be about 10 minutes of OHL talk because we'd have to get that in there, and then the rest would be, all right, let's start with the rookie season and work our way up through all the cups. That would be our show.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be in Toronto Saturday, but unfortunately I won't be at the Red Wings Leaf preseason game. I'll be at the Argonauts BC Lions game covering that game. And the Toronto Argonauts, I want to give them a shout out as well. Chris Bilnovich has been really good about my freelance media work, and it's been awesome. It's been what I'm doing I've been very lucky and received a lot of great opportunities from the OHL, obviously, and the Toronto Argonauts and stuff like that. Anyways, I want to make it about you guys. So I was going to say, Colin, was there anybody else who kind of mentored you as well when you were in school?
That would be pretty well it. I think it touched on everyone. I mean, going over to 1150 was big. Meeting Reese for the first time and doing a show together and haven't looked back since. Doing that, Marshall Ferguson, Kyle Mello, I was fortunate enough to be able to sit in on the morning show with them. And it was actually funny. So Reese and myself and another fellow intern, we got to go on for a baseball segment. And that day, me being a Blue Jay fan, Reese being a Tigers fan, we got right into it about a spring training baseball game, Blue Jays and Tigers. It was awesome. Hey, I have respect for the Tigers. Being a Red Wing fan, you always have a soft spot for all Detroit sports. So I had to have a soft spot for the Tigers. So it wasn't too bad, but Miguel Cabrera, one of the best right-handed hitters all time. So I'll give you that one.
I was going to say I'm a Red Wings, Tigers, Pistons, Wolverines fan, except for the Detroit Lions. I've never liked the Lions. Except Barry Sanders. I like Barry Sanders. And there's two guys on the team currently for the Lions I like, DeAndre Swift and St. Brown, the wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch Hard Knocks this summer?
No, I didn't get a chance. No, I did not. No.
You'll have to watch that. It's a really good show.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, because I would like to see that. But okay, I was going to get to my next question, Colin. I could probably talk to you for 2-3 hours. But and before I get to this question, what were your thoughts of TSN 1150 no longer being there? I personally thought it was a mistake, but
yeah, there's not too much we can comment on that one. But it's unfortunate. I mean, I know Reese and myself had fun there recording there with the show. That was always cool. And it's unfortunate for them.
I was going to say right now, obviously the Hamilton Tiger Cats, they have their own audio network and it's broadcast through CHMO 900. Now the Bulldogs Audio Network, do they have a partnership with a radio station or is it just strictly?
Just their internet radio.
Okay. And you know what? That's huge to have on now anyways.
Yeah. And you know what? The Anaheim Ducks just started it up with the NHL as well. So it's pretty cool. I think the Bulldogs is part of the network. Reese and I and the show, I think we want something to do with that with the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, maybe all the Mason McTavish watches last year. I think, we had something to do with that.
Okay. I wanted to ask you this. Quick thoughts again on the 21-2022 Ontario Hockey League Hamilton Bulldogs. And was there a turning point in the season last year? You and Reese and the fans knew that this team could be special.
You know what? Honestly, right from training camp, you knew this team was good because they were close. It was a really good group. And in the playoffs, they just took off, as you saw with that winning streak throughout the playoffs until the finals. Obviously, Windsor are a really good team. They got introduced to Western Hockey League play, and it's a totally different ball game, right, when you play the West. But right from training camp, this team, and I know in the media poll for the OHL, I picked Hamilton to go to the finals. And right away, you knew this team had it all. They were just missing those big pieces to put them over the edge, which every good team has to get. You have to get 1 to 2 pieces later on once you get into that playoff contender championship style contending team. And once they picked up Mason McTavish and Herbert Jacki, you knew this team. I mean, they didn't lose a game. They only lost like 1 game since New Year's on home ice. It was incredible. And this team was just good all the way around. They had no weaknesses really. And 1 through 4 lines was really good. They could come at you in different ways. They were deep. And yeah, they were just a really good hockey club all the way around, really good group. And you saw that firsthand.
I was going to say the series against the Windsor Spitfires, what challenges did Windsor present that the Bulldogs didn't see in the first 3 rounds in the Eastern Conference?
You know what? Windsor was a really good hockey club, and I just think Windsor stuck to their system, and they weren't scared of the Hamilton Bulldogs. I mean, any time there's an anxiety factor, right? When you see the Hamilton Bulldogs win 12 games in a row going into the finals, the Windsor Spitfires, you see all this flash, right? This team hasn't lost. And they weren't scared of that, and they were equally as good. They were a really good hockey club. They had good goaltending. They were able to roll 2 goalies in that series, and they both played well, Medina and Anuska. So they both played really well. They were deep as well. You look at their 4th line. I mean, you look at Oliver Pierre come out in the playoffs, right, and how good he was. And, like, Ryan Abraham, like, they have some guys on Windsor that were really good, and you look for them to take the step this year. But obviously that first line too, Wyatt Johnston, Will Cooley, was a little bit of Squally Zito in there as well. They were a good hockey club, and they were well coached, right? Mark Savard had those boys going. And I don't know if you caught any of his press conferences or whatever post-game throughout the conference final and the finals, but he was a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy there with Mark Savard, and the players really fueled off that. He would be a fun coach to play for. That's for sure. And it's always nice when you have a coach behind you that's passionate like that and that's really positive in a good way for you. That's huge for your game. And I just think they weren't afraid of the Hamilton Bulldogs, and they were a good hockey club. And that's why it went 7 games, and the outcome happened, right? It went right down to the final game. In game 7, anything can happen. And it went right down to the final whistle, final goal. It was a really good hockey series, and both teams were really good. And the Windsor Spitfires were deep, and they were good as well.
Do you think that Spitfire series took it out of the Bulldogs for the Memorial Cup tournament?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, when you cruise through the first 3 rounds, right, then you get into then you go into a 7-game series with Windsor, and going into Windsor, those games were tough. Game 3 in Windsor, I feel, caught the Bulldogs off guard. It was a wild atmosphere in there. You have fans behind the benches standing up, yelling at you on the bench. It was a strong crowd, and they were right into it. It's a tough building to play. Windsor's one of the toughest buildings to play in the Ontario Hockey League. Maybe that was mentally draining getting out of that series, and obviously physically, right? You play 7 games. That explains itself. And yeah, possibly, but the Bulldogs played pretty good in the Memorial Cup. They dropped the first 2, which wasn't ideal, but then they had success. And in the finals, yeah, possibly, but they played a team that didn't play a lot of games as well. And you go all the way to the finals, and you won your league. It was a really good year for the Bulldogs.
I was going to say, what is your opinion of the host team being in the Memorial Cup, and in this case, the Sea Dogs were eliminated in the first round?
Yeah, you know what happens? They were eliminated to a really good hockey team too in the Q, so it's nothing you can do about it. It's just the way it is, right? So it happens, and and before this even happened, remember, the host team would always be the 4th place team in the tournament. That was never even a factor. And now all of a sudden it is, and it's just the way it is. Now with video and stuff, you have time to watch video and really game plan against certain teams, certain players, which is big. But it's just the way it is. It's been here forever, right? The Memorial Cup, the host team's always in it. I don't like going away with tradition, so It's not, like, in my opinion, yeah, it's frustrating, obviously, but it is what it is. And hey, you won your league, right? You won your league, and in the Memorial Cup, Hamilton Bulldogs beat all the champions in the league around the other league. So that's big as well. So it was a successful season.
I was gonna say, and I've talked to some other guys around the league too, and I agree with them. I think it's more of a challenge and more of a league championship because a week tournament, and basically, if you get on a hot streak, you can win it. That's not dishing
For sure.
the Memorial Cup, but just winning a league championship is just a tremendous feat.
Oh, 100% it is. 100% it is.
Oops, I think I lost you, Colin. Sorry, I think it might be on my Wi-Fi as well. Are you okay for a few more minutes still?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, because I know you get a football game tonight at
Oh, that's
8
not till
o'clock.
8 anyways. That's
Eight,
I got a
Den-
lot of time.
is that game
Yeah,
in
let's go
Denver?
Rockets.
Is that in Denver or Indianapolis?
Well, I got to go with my Broncos, but every time I pick my team, they lose. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, this leads to my next question. What are your thoughts overall on Mason McTavish?
The king of junior hockey. The king of junior hockey. Last year, right away when he came in, I mean, it felt like he could do whatever he wanted. And as an athlete, when you have that ability and the way he could slow the game down mentally and how slow the game came to him and how like fast he could process it and slow the game down was so uncanny to me. And he's just a really good hockey player. He was the king of junior hockey last year. He was the best player in the CHL, and his play spoke for itself. And at the World Juniors this summer, it spoke for itself there as well. Good goalie as well.
I was going to say that's one of the greatest players in World Junior history. What he did
Yeah, what can
in
he
that,
do? Yeah.
absolutely. Now, do you think the Bulldogs would have won the league title without him last year?
You know what? Honestly, I don't. That's a tough one to answer. That's a really good question, just because you don't know, right? And he was a big part of their team, and I believe everyone on that team was so crucial for that team to win. So yeah, he was a big part of them winning. It was a good question, but yeah, I would say they win with him. They would need him to win. Him and Arbor Jack, Ethan Sims, those guys were massive for them to win. Every single player on that team was big.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Which team do you think is stronger, the 18 team or the 22 Bulldogs team?
Ooh, the stronger team coming out of it after winning is this year. So there's another answer for the question, but that's tough. You know, both teams were really good. Um, both teams were deep. I think the bias, I would say, last year, just because that team had no weaknesses. They were so deep, and obviously both teams were deep. To win a championship, you have to be deep. But to win 12 games in a row and to not lose a game on home ice after New Year's is incredible. And it's very tough to do, to be that dominant in any sport, and especially in the Ontario Hockey League. I mean, you're playing games 3-3s, it feels like, down the stretch in the last 2 months of the season, every other week. You know, you got to play a lot of games, especially last year with the COVID, playing in front of no fans and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on. And for the Bulldogs to be that dominant as all this is going on just shows how good of a hockey club they were. So the Hamilton Bulldogs, I would say, of last year.
I You think I might have a Wi-Fi connection?
Okay.
Hopefully, we'll get Colin back. Okay, we're back. We're back. I had
Okay.
to turn the Wi-Fi off my cell
Okay.
phone, so I think that might have helped.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I have all the bars.
Okay, no problem. But this question I wanted to ask you: who were some of the other players on last year's team that you thought really stepped up their game last season?
Oh, so that's a good question too. I think going into this year, I think Lawson Shirk, obviously Ryan Humphrey's going to be in a big spot this year. Those guys were huge on last year's team. They were very good. Um, there's a lot of guys. I mean, Lucas Moore, I think, is going to have a really big year this season. They have a few guys that are coming up as well from last year's draft, which is big. I think Florian Jacka is going to have a big role this year. I mean, Hamilton fans are going to love him. Hamilton fans are going to love that guy. And it's going to be really fun to watch him play game in and game out for the Bulldogs because he really fits the identity of that team.
Now, is there any other players on this year's team that the fans of the Bulldogs or the Ontario Hockey League should keep a watch out for?
Yeah, their first-round pick, Merrick Van Acker. Delhi native. I had to give him the shout-out being from Delhi, but I think that he's going to be massive for them. I saw him play a lot last year in Brantford on his minor midget season. He had a very good year there and on a good Brantford team. Merrick Van Acker could score 20 goals this year. Obviously, that's a lot of pressure for a 16-year-old, Chris, so I don't want to go out and say he could do this, could do that, or he's going to do that. But Merrick Van Acker is definitely a really good hockey player. He's going to play a big role for a 16-year-old with the Bulldogs. So I think Merrick Van Acker should have a massive year for the Hamilton Bulldogs. And don't be surprised if he scores 20 goals this year as a 16-year-old in the OHL.
How about the Bulldogs goaltending situation for this year?
Yeah, so they have Malbuff, Droback, and Costantini. Obviously, the OA situation right now being what it is, there's going to be a decision to be made with the OAs. Their goaltending is going to be good. Mateo Droback, he certainly showed last year, even in the games he played, that he's capable of being a number one goaltender in the Ontario Hockey League. I think the Bulldogs could have confidence in any one of those guys to start. They're all capable of starting. They have a really good goaltending situation. They're deep. And yeah, they'll be really good. Marco Costantini showed that last year, in my opinion, goaltender of the year in the Ontario Hockey League. How good he was in the playoffs, how good he was in the regular season. I mean, he's so calm, cool, and collective. I mean, nothing really phases him. Really good goaltender there as well. And the Hamilton Bulldogs are just so deep in the goaltending department.
You still feel they can be a contender out of the East this year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this is one of the better teams returning after a championship. I think this team's going to be a very good hockey club, Chris, and I think they could be finish anywhere in the top 5 of the Eastern Conference, and I wouldn't be surprised, right? They play a tough game. They play a Western Conference style game. I think that's going to get them a lot of points in the Eastern Conference play and in that division. Obviously, there's some teams to watch out for. Mississauga, you see them in the national rankings as a team to watch for. Peterborough is a really good hockey club. They're a veteran team, obviously acquiring Sahil Panwar and J.R. Avon making his season debut tonight for the Petes. That's a very deep hockey club. They're a very older team. And last year in that first round, the Peterborough Petes, they came out and they just wanted to hit. They just wanted to hit in that first round. But it was a tough series for the Bulldogs. And that team now, after that experience and that memory of losing in the first round, has a chip on their shoulder. And they certainly played with it on Saturday night, that's for sure. Obviously, the Bulldogs having guys out of the lineup, it hurt. But yeah, Peterborough, Mississauga, there's some teams to watch out for in that Eastern Conference, but the Hamilton Bulldogs should be okay.
I was going to mention the Negros. They've revamped their roster, their coaching staff with Daryl Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
Daniel Fitzgerald from the Brantford 99s. Yeah, good guy. He had him on my show, and new ownership, and Wayne Gretzky owns 10%, and they've got Pascal Zito from Windsor and Matt Pappas from the Storm. And a whole bunch of, they've pretty well revamped that whole roster. So to me, Niagara's a team to keep an eye on in the East this year.
Yeah, Niagara, it's kind of a team where you want to see what they have. And also, I got to give a shout out to the Dog Pound podcast, Brandon Caputo. I think he's listening to the show right now, but he has a podcast. And Chris, you may have met him last year in the playoffs in Hamilton, but he hosted the official podcast of the Niagara Ice Dogs, and they just had a show released today at noon. So give that a listen, because at Niagara, the swagger is different. The vibe around the team's a lot different. Reese and I had our weekly featured game for the OHL in 60 there last Thursday evening, a week ago tonight, and it was a different vibe around the team. That atmosphere is totally different as what it was a season ago. They had a 5-on-3 early on in the game, and they didn't give up a goal. They didn't give up a goal in that situation. And I turned and looked at Brandon Caputo and Reese Dumaney, and I just said, like, that's a game. That's a situation where last year they give up one to two goals in that situation. They fold. And that is something that is really big for them to move on from. They're a lot better situated, and all the way around, they look like a really good hockey club, and they have a system now, and that's big.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I shouldn't say it. I'm trying to get away from that word, going. I basically, I forgot what I was going to say, but I would like to. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. With the OHL, I'd like to get. I would like to see Hamilton a little bit more often come to Kitchener, Guelph, and London and stuff like that. I really would like
Yeah,
to see
Niagara
Hamilton in
too.
the West. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to see Hamilton and Niagara in the West if possible, because it makes no sense. Niagara has to go through Hamilton and get the most of their road games. So it makes no sense that they're not even in the same division in the Eastern Conference. So that's kind of weird, but yeah, for sure. And I think there's a situation there where you could possibly move Owen Sound to the East, Hamilton to the West, and then you'd have to look at another team that's closer as well. Suit's kind of that border, right, where it's so close to Saginaw and Flint, but it also could play North Bay, Sudbury. So those are two options there. Maybe you bring Niagara and Hamilton over to the West, and then possibly go Sioux and Owen Sound for sure over to the East. But yeah, that's too geography for me to figure out.
I would like to see one more USA franchise in the OHL. I think a fourth
That'd be
team in
great.
the States.
New
But
York
I
would be
think
nice.
if they're going to do it, the league right now is balanced at 20 teams. So I think what they would have to do is up 8 teams, put another team in Ontario, obviously, and one more in the States. And I think New York State would be a great candidate. As for the Ontario Hockey League, I would like to see
Yeah.
Brantford get an OHL team again, but I don't know if that'll ever happen again.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big commitment for Brantford to get an OHL team just because of the situation there with the arena. The Civic Center is kind of outdated now, so they would have to do a lot of work on that. And the Gretzky Center, quite frankly, is just too small to host an OHL team. So they would have to really update Civic or build a new arena completely, and that's a lot of money for the taxpayers. So that might be it. That might cause a lot of pain in Brantford. So we'll see, but yeah, probably not. I know Chatham. I know they had a situation there last summer with Chatham. I know Chatham, the local newspaper, wrote an article about an arena plan there, building a new arena. Their new arena looked really nice. It reminded me of Little Caesars Arena in Detroit at the outside, but just smaller, obviously. But it looks like a nice arena there, so maybe Chatham's an option there as well for the OHL.
Absolutely, and I've even heard for the IBL as the Chatham Cubs.
Yeah,
is a rumored expansion team for them.
Yeah, I played at Fergie Jenkins Field in Chatham a couple times. It's a really nice park. They just have to update it. They have to add a couple more bleachers. I think they want to add a batting cage as well in the outfield, which is a good idea.
Now, this question I wanted to ask you, we've already talked about Steve Stales, obviously, but thoughts on the head coach Jay McKee since he's been in Hamilton and the owner Michael Anlauer overall?
Very good. Michael Anlauer is one of the greatest owners in the Ontario Hockey League. I mean, last year just spoke for itself, and it was good. Last year it was really big for the Bulldogs. It really showcased how good of an ownership they have and how good business-wise they are. I mean, hockey, once you get to the OHL, right, hockey's not just how you perform on the ice, it's how you perform in the business office as well. And the Hamilton Bulldogs nailed it on both ends last year. And Michael Anlauer is one of the greatest owners in the Ontario Hockey League and just speaks for itself. And Coach Jay McKee is, I mean, one of the top coaches in the Ontario Hockey League. It was honestly devastating they never won Coach of the Year last year in the Ontario Hockey League, just because what he brought to the table game in and game out for that team, he really let the guys play in a spot where they can be successful. And you could see that in the play where players were comfortable in all their roles throughout the stretch in the playoffs. So I think both those guys are massive, really top guys in the Ontario Hockey League, a lot of credibility. Obviously, with those two guys and Jay McKee's system, it would be fun to play for. I mentioned Mark Savard earlier on, where his system would be fun, but so would Jay McKee's, right? Jay McKee, if you're a defenseman, he'll let you go. If you can contribute offensively, he'll let you go. Lets you play on that fine line. We saw with Arbor Jack guy, right? Odd time, you can see in the press conferences there, post game in the playoffs, the odd time. You have to have that talk with Arbor, right? There's a fine line. Make sure you don't take a penalty in this situation, kind of slow the game down. But yeah, it's just a situation there where both guys are very good in the Ontario Hockey League.
And one thing I was going to bring up, the Bulldogs look like they have stability with ownership,
Yes, they do.
management, and coaching staff. And I think Kitchener's loss was Hamilton's gain in Jay McKee becoming the Bulldogs head coach as well. And how well would you think he and Matt will work together? You don't think there'll be any issues?
Yeah, I think they'll be good because Matt was with this Hamilton organization since 15-16. So I think it's going to be a smooth transition for the Bulldogs in general. I mean, the assistant GM has a lot of pull in the Ontario Hockey League in any sport, right? The assistant GM in the NHL is a big developer. They're usually in charge of the scouts, right? You have that talks with the scouts and they're first hand in development. So I think that it's going to be a smooth transition for the Bulldogs. I don't think anything's going to change day to day for that team.
Okay. this question I had to ask, we've talked about it already, so we'll just do the bottom part of this question. Since I'm from Guelph, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on Guelph native? I think he's more from Puslinch, but it's close to Guelph.
Yeah.
Logan Morrison being named the captain of the Hamilton Bulldogs this year.
It was very well deserved for Logan Morrison. I mean, you saw it last year in the playoffs, how big of a leader he was for that team. And some guys are just born with it, right? And Logan Morrison looks like one of those guys who's just born to be a leader. And now he gets that opportunity to be the captain of the Hamilton Bulldogs. And hey, it's a big deal, right? Because the team hasn't had a lot of captains. And the list of captains he joins is a pretty impressive list. So, and he's definitely well deserving. And Logan Morrison's going to have a really good year this season, like he did last year, and hopefully get that contract.
I was going to say, and he had a nice go in overtime against the Storm last Friday
Yeah,
night with 3.6 seconds left.
Yeah, I have a question for you. I was surprised. Were you surprised you never got in the 3 stars?
He should have been. He should have been in the 3 stars. That's another subject me and Mike Farwell have gotten into. I think the 3-star thing should just be discontinued because a lot of the times it's based on hometown favorites and it's not really based on the actual top 3 players. I'm in favor of eliminating the 3 stars if they're not going to do it properly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. If it's not, and I think it would be nice if you could somehow include the fans as well. Because I feel like the fans would give a general, honest answer because media, there's still some bias there. So we'll see. But yeah, that's a conversation for another time with the 3 stars. I agree with you, though. I mean, you might as well not even have it.
Definitely. Now, we know who the captain is, Morrison. We'll wrap this up. Who are going to be the assistant captains on the Bulldogs? Have they named the assistants yet?
Yeah, Avery Hayes, Lawson Shirk, Ryan Winterton. And yeah, all those guys are more than capable of being captains on any other team. They're both really good leaders. Avery Hayes will have a big year this year, score a lot of goals. It's well deserving for all those guys to be named to get a letter.
Okay, and we're gonna wrap this up with the last question because, like I said, we got Thursday night football tonight at 8:00 on Amazon Prime. I'm still used to Al Michaels being on Sunday Night Football. It's just strange to have him on Thursday night. Definitely, yeah, but I was gonna say, where can my audience find you and follow you on social media? And can you just tell us when your podcast, the Hammertown podcast, is on? The old around the OHL around 60, I think, is on. Just any of your shows and where people can follow them.
So the OHL in 60 comes out every Tuesday night at 7:00, and the Hammertown pod should be coming out any minute on the Bulldogs Audio Network. So follow, and also you can follow us on Twitter at the Hammertown _pod. Funny story how the underscore came into existence. And also the OHL in 60 podcast at the OHL in 60 podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Hammertown _pod on Twitter. And then, yeah, my Twitter is Colin Ward _O. And after you can find me personally on Twitter.
And I was going to say, you must be looking to Saturday night's home opener against the Oshawa Generals. Yeah. Quick thoughts on the Generals, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I think Oshawa. So we talked about it on this week's show for the Hammertown pod. We just talked about what Oshawa brings to the table. They're definitely they're a bigger team. Dylan Rubrick, who they recently got from the Niagara Ice Dogs, is off to a good start for Oshawa. They had a tall first line, so I watched a little bit of film on them to get ready for a show yesterday evening for the recording. And in Oshawa, I just saw a lot. They had a big first line. They take up a lot of natural space because of that, but they give up a lot of seam passes on the penalty kill. That was one thing that they wanted to clean up. Their media mentioned it throughout the game. Their coaches mentioned it pregame on Sunday in their game against Kingston, that they want to clean up the seam passes. That's one thing that could help the Bulldogs Saturday night, because if you know Avery Hayes, Logan Morrison, they could expose that if you're going to leave that seam pass open on the power play for the Bulldogs. So that's one positive for the Bulldogs to look for in that game. And I mean, the first line of Ritchie, Rubrick, and Butler on Sunday for Oshawa, that's a big top line. That's a tall top line. That gives up they take up a lot of space, and it can give you fits if they play the right way and they stick to their system. That's generally the problem early on in the season, Chris. Teams get away from that system, right? They can't stick to their system, and penalties happen, and that's early season problems, right? And then pucks find. That's why you see so many high scoring games in the first month of the season, just because teams don't know their system, and that's one thing that the Bulldogs have to watch for. it should be a good pace of a game. I expect it to be a fast-paced game, high-scoring game as well. But yeah, it's going to be a fun first game. Good first home opening opponent for the Bulldogs, that's for sure.
And I was going to say the Bulldogs home games this year, are majority of them going to be again on Saturday nights like they have in the past?
So, yeah, it should be Saturday, 4 o'clock. We'll have some Friday games for sure. There's a couple Sunday afternoon games. I mean, next Sunday, a week from Sunday, the London Knights are in town. So good first 2 home games for the Hamilton Bulldogs, right? You start with Oshawa, and then you play the London Knights out of conference. And I mean, out of conference, okay, you play the Guelph Storm, you play the Owen Sound Attack tomorrow, and then the London Knights 3 weeks in a row. So this is going to be a crazy start for the Bulldogs playing the Western Conference.
I might have to come down to that game against the London Knights on the 16th, but I want to say thank you to your partner Reese last year, because when he took me up that elevator, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I got to walk up the catwalk. Yeah, it was kind of intimidating. So he was nice enough to show me the back way. And then Rick Zamperin didn't even know there was a back way to that press box.
Oh, really? Yeah, I honestly didn't really know there was a back way either. I just take the catwalk. Once I got like 2 games in, I got used to it. And then it was like nothing.
Okay, well, I was going to say, but I will agree with you as I wrap this up, Colin. The view up there is outstanding, and I'm hoping I'll see you guys at a Bulldogs game, hopefully in the next couple weeks or in the next month. I'll let you guys know ahead of time when I can come down to a game.
Yeah, for sure. Just let us know, and we'll see you there.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to wrap this up. Denver, Indianapolis, who wins today? What's the final score?
Oh, let's ride Broncos country. I have to go with Denver. That's my team. Let's go Broncos.
Yeah.
I'll say it's going to be low. It's going to be low scoring. I know Russell Wilson's kind of nicked up a little bit. So I'll say 21-17 Broncos.
I got Broncos winning 17-13.
Hey, nice. Let's go. Let's ride.
17-13. Okay, well, I was going to say, Colin, thank you so much for coming on season 4, episode 39 of Live with CDP Sports Talk. And say hi to Reese for me. And give me about 15 minutes, and I'll have this podcast downloaded to my audio platforms as well. And hopefully we'll see you at the First Ontario Center very soon.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And yeah, for sure. See you later.
You too. Have a good night, Colin. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed my podcast show with Colin Ward, who's the host of the Hammertown podcast and the Around the OHL in 60 with Reese Dumani. And he's also a correspondent with the contributor with the Hamilton Bulldogs Audio Network as well. You guys can check out their website, hamiltonbulldogs.com. Their home opener is Saturday, October 8th, 7 o'clock face-off at the First Ontario Center against the Oshawa Generals. They'll be raising the OHL and Western OHL banner and the Eastern Conference banner, and the first 5,000 fans at the arena will get a replica Bulldogs championship ring as well. And guys, you can also check my next live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, to be announced for next week. I'm working on 2 to 3 more shows for next week, so stay tuned, to be announced again. I want to say thank you to Colin Ward for coming on tonight, and thank you again to Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. You can check out their newest selection of inventory, new and used, on their website, barrycullen.com, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. And also, guys, the all-electric Silverado pre-orders are now available. So if you're interested in the all-electric Silverado, they are doing pre-orders now available. You can do it. Check that out at barrycullen.com. Or again, the phone number is 519-824-0210 as well. Or pop in to 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall and see Nathan Laud. And I want to say a special thank you to my mechanic who's been there for a long time, Jim Zettel. And I've been a customer of Barry Cullen's Chevrolet since 2000 as well. So, and also, guys, special thanks to my dentist, Dr. Vicky Chan from Stone Road Dental. Dr. Vicky Dr. Vicky Chan from Stone Road Family Dental, 435 Stone Road West in Guelph in Storrow Mall. If you're looking for a good dentist, I would check out Dr. Vicky Chan at Stone Road Family Dental. I have had her for 12 years now, and she does a really good job and really good customer service there. So please check out Dr. Vicky Chan at Stone Road Family Dental in the Stone Road Mall as well. And guys, I'm going to be doing this as I do with all my podcast shows as well. Bear with me, guys, just 1 second. Live with CDP podcast. The audio version is downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn. And I want to say thank you to everybody watching this live on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you already haven't. And thank you to everyone watching on Facebook Live and on my Twitter page at Chris D. Palme as well. And you guys can also check me out on TikTok at Live with CDP. And I will also put up my website if you guys want to check it out. Just 1 second here. I'm going to put it out right here. That is beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my social media work and media sites and my YouTube channel is on there as well. So beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme as well. That's about it, guys. Again, I want to say thank you to Colin Ward from the Hamilton Bulldogs Audio Network and the host of the Hammertown podcast for coming on tonight and talking some Hamilton Bulldogs hockey and some Ontario Hockey League hockey. Thank you for coming on and talking about the Hamilton Bulldogs and the Ontario Hockey League as well. Guys, sometimes I make mistakes as well. So things happen, and I just got to keep working away on each show. And like I said, I've been very lucky to get so many great guests on here as well. And that's about it. Guys, I'm going to be doing the Guelph Griffins game tomorrow night with Griff Vision. Guelph's taking on McMaster at 6 o'clock at Alumni Stadium. And then Saturday, I will be off to Toronto to see the Argonauts and BC Lions at BMO Field, 4 o'clock kickoff on TSN. And the Blue Jays take on the Seattle Mariners this weekend, Friday, Saturday, at the Rogers Center at 4:07 p.m. first pitch for games 1 and 2. If there's a game 3 in the best of 3 series, it'll be also in Toronto at 2:07 on Sunday as well. So I've got the Seattle winning in 3 games over the Blue Jays. I've got Cleveland over Tampa in 2 games. I have the Mets over San Diego in 3 games, and I have the Cardinals over the Philadelphia Phillies in 2 games. So I hope everybody has a great evening. Enjoy the Thursday night football game with Denver and Indianapolis, and the Major League Baseball playoffs starting on Friday, and of course the NFL games as well. Eagles at Cardinals Sunday at 4:25. Go Birds, and hopefully the Eagles can go 5-0. But again, thanks to Colin Ward for coming on, and everybody for watching this and listening to my podcast. Again, Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. BarryCullen.com, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Have a great evening, guys, and I want to wish everybody a happy Canadian Thanksgiving. If you celebrated on Sunday or Monday, enjoy Thanksgiving with your families, either on Sunday and Monday, and we'll see you guys next week for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Talk. Good night, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.